Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another Osteoporosis Canada Cook with OC webinar. Before we begin today's webinar, Osteoporosis Canada acknowledges the land that our offices, located in Toronto, are on, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. My name is Tracie Napoli, Director of Fund Development and MARCOM at Osteoporosis Canada, and I will be your cooking demo host. This webinar will provide general information about cooking and food knowledge. It is not intended as individualized health or nutrition advice, but if you have questions, please consult a registered dietitian or healthcare provider. Now, during the webinar, we would love to hear from you. So if you have questions or comments related to the webinar, just click Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, or you can enter your comments in the chat. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can during the webinar within the time available. Osteoporosis Canada continues to innovate and create new tools and resources along with recipes so people can get the nutrition they need for strong and healthy bones. The 5 key nutrients that we focus on is calcium, vitamin D, protein, magnesium, and vitamin K. And Osteoporosis Canada recommends that whenever possible to get bone-building nutrients through food sources. Now, to help you track what you're eating every day and to make sure you're getting enough of the nutrients needed daily, try the nutrient calculator. If you haven't, it is available on the Osteoporosis Canada website. You can enter in an average day of what you're eating, and it will tell you if you need to get more of one nutrient or if you're doing a great job and you just need to keep going. Today, we are cooking for one, and we've had many people ask us for recipes just for one because they don't like having leftovers. They sometimes lack the motivation. These are some of the challenges they experience with cooking in general. They're used to cooking for more people, and they're unsure of how to cook full meals for one person. They don't like to eat alone. Ingredients are often packaged in larger quantities, and recipes on average can serve an average of 4 people. So we listened to you. We created a recipe for one, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to do a baked fish fries and kale slaw. This is the featured recipe. Oh my goodness, there is a little bit of a typo there. It's not a biscuit. Per serving, there is 400 milligrams of calcium, 35 grams of protein, 6 micrograms of vitamin D, 33 micrograms of vitamin K, and 150 milligrams of magnesium. Now, I will put the link to the recipe in the chat so that you can follow along if you'd like. But if not to worry, you will get the replay of the cooking demo with the recipe link after this webinar. It is now my pleasure to introduce our friend, Emily Richards, who is a professional home economist, freelance food writer, chef, and the author and co-author of 11 cookbooks. Emily also writes and develops recipes for print and online publications that include everyday cooking and healthy eating, and she can be found on TV, radio, and webcasts just like this one. So welcome, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hey, Tracie. Hey, Tracie. Hey, everybody. It is a gloomy day here in Guelph, so I hope the sun is shining somewhere out there for you.
Same in Toronto. It's a little gray. It's a little gray in this room. But you know what? And we will actually want to know where you're from. We're going to pop up a poll question. So Roy, who does all the tech in the background, Roy, can you pop up the first poll question? Let's find out where people are from. Let's see. Roy, are you having some technical difficulty? Hello, Roy. We may be... Okay, Roy is in my ear and he's just telling me we were having a bit of a technical challenge with the platform before we got on. Oh, but Patricia let us know she's from Ajax. So you know what? We can do this the old school way. In the chat or in the even in the Q&A, you can just put where you're from. We would love to hear from you. from sunny Sudbury. We want to talk to you later. There's actually something I'm talking about Sudbury at the end of this webinar. Oh, we have somebody else from Sudbury. Fabulous. Sault Ste. Marie, Richmond Hill, and to Ganesh. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Alberta, Edmonton. Oh, it's raining in Edmonton, Nova Scotia. So many great places. Winnipeg. Greetings to everybody. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So we're not going to do poll questions. Apparently, we are having a bit of a technical issue. So anything I ask you, please put it in the chat if you'd like to. Oh, it's from Boulder, Colorado. Hello, hello. That's great. Washago, Ontario, Niagara. And like, oh, this is wonderful. We love it when you get so many different people attending. So this is about cooking for one. We do get a lot of in our surveys that we do after the webinars, people will email us. They're like, it's just me. And sometimes we just don't have the motivation. And there's all these different reasons. So from the reasons that we shared before we kind of get cooking, was there anything else? Like, are there any other reasons why maybe people aren't motivated? I mean, some people, I have friends, they have no interest in cooking. They just want to be a guest.
That's a
Just
legitimate reason.
that. It could just, I would like to go to Emily's house and just be a guest. But you know, are there any other reasons why maybe you would not be interested in cooking? Or is it some people have told me that they cooked for so long for their families, it is difficult to figure out how to make a complete meal for just one person. And I'm not sure what everyone else's thoughts on that are. Emily, what do you think?
Well, all the reasons that you spoke about right from the get-go. I think another one is the cost, right? Like
Yeah.
we have to consider that because especially if you have gone from cooking for a lot of people to a smaller household, and perhaps your buying habits haven't changed yet, so that cost is still coming with it. So there's a lot of things that can be barriers, but hopefully, we'll talk about all those things. And if you guys have questions specifically about that, we can talk about that. But if you have solutions that have worked for you, like Tracie said, post them in the chat because this is really what helps develop the recipes as well. Because if there's things that, you prefer buying lentils in a big, huge bag, but you're one person, what are you going to do with all those lentils? Maybe you need some lentil recipes, those types of things, because I think that it's about helping each other. And I'm a big believer of if you have the ability to cook and you love cooking and your neighbor doesn't, why
Mhm.
not cook and split the difference, right? Maybe she could pick up a bag of salad and you can do the cooking, those types of things, because and we'll talk about this too, but eating with somebody or
Yes.
with a few people, that's a big thing that I think is really important. And it doesn't have to be someone you like. Just eat with them because by the end of the meal, you might like them.
I don't know, Emily. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'm on that train.
You can make friends
To
with
each
food. We
their own.
all know
Yes, I
that,
think everyone should
Tracie.
make friends. But that's up to you, whoever wants to do that. So we are starting to get some comments. And so to this point, when we did this recipe, it was like, how do we get the quantities for one person, but also to have a fully complete meal? If you're
Yes,
cooking for one, and I said this to actually Emily earlier, I said, often if you're cooking for one, you may just make like the main. Maybe like if I was going to break this down, maybe I don't make the salad. I just
right.
make like the fish and the potato because, or throw whatever vegetable I want because I'm like, oh, that's enough. It's for one person. Some
Yeah,
people don't want to go through all that effort, but this is really like important, and we all deserve to eat well, to get the nutrients we need, but also to, enjoy the process and then the end result. So let's talk. Keep your comments coming in or suggestions. Let's talk. Let's not talk. Let's cook, Emily. What are we cooking,
well,
Emily?
we can do both. I'll
We
cook,
can
we
do
can talk.
both.
It's all good.
Oh, wait, wait,
Um,
wait, wait. Sorry. We're
yeah.
giving away an apron that we
Oh,
normally
yes.
do, right? So whoever's on at the end, I will draw a name, and the lovely apron, a brand new one, we will ship to you that Emily is wearing. And so, yeah, so sorry, forgot about that. And off we go. All right, Emily.
Perfect. Well, I have the recipe in front of me, so hopefully I won't forget anything or screw anything up. But if you're following along, keep an eye on the recipe because, sometimes I forget things. What I did do specifically today, normally I have like everything out ready to go so we can work through the recipe. I did leave a few things not measured because cooking for one is kind of grabbing, I think, grab what you have and kind of work with it that way. So I did leave a few things because I also want to talk about substitutions because let's be real, you might not have everything at home or you might not like what I'm using. So, it's good to have those substitutions. And so I'm going to start off pretty much the way the recipe is written is how we're going to do this, the approach. And then we can talk about substitutions and options as we go along. So the first thing we're going to start off with is potatoes. One potato. And I called for one small potato. If you're not a fan of potatoes and you want a small potato, like this, I have one here. Okay, if you want a really tiny potato, as opposed to this kind of medium-sized potato or small potato. If you want these, I love having these little kind of mini potato. If you want like 3 or 4 of those, use those. Okay. So it's about having that feel of fish and chips in the end. That's kind of our goal for this recipe. And so what I'm going to do is cut them into kind of fry size portions. So I'm just kind of cutting and I'm going to do lengthwise cuts. If you prefer wedges, you can cut them into wedges. I know I have family members that are wedge potato lovers as opposed to fried potato lovers. If you want these to be more like just roasted potatoes, you can cube them if you want, but they're about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch thick, and they're just going into a little bowl. If you have a sweet potato that you want to use, you can use that. Now remember, sweet potatoes can be really, really big. So maybe use half of the sweet potato and then tomorrow or the next day, you'll use the rest of the sweet potato. So right away you're thinking, well, Emily, what am I supposed to do with that half sweet potato in the meantime? Just wrap it and put it in the fridge and you'll get to it in 2 days. You just have to promise me that you're going to get to it in a day or two because as it sits, it'll start to change texture and flavor in the fridge. Okay. But we're going straight up potato, but we're also going to add a little bit of seasoning to it. You could just roast this plain if you didn't want to add any seasoning, but we are going to add minimal seasoning because it's about what you have. So I'm using some Italian seasoning that has a combination of herbs, basil, things like basil, thyme, oregano, marjoram sometimes is in here. It's just kind of it's based on the brand. You can make your own. You can just mix, the seasonings that you like. Is it a pinch in here? Yeah, it's just a pinch. Okay. So I'm literally just pinching some out and putting it in. If you want a little bit more, by all means, you can put a little bit more. If you don't want this, you want just oregano, use dried oregano, use dried basil. Maybe you like curry fries, use a little bit of curry powder. Okay. This is about what's in your pantry too. And if that's going to encourage you to cook for yourself, then by all means use what you have. If you have a Greek seasoning, which is a mixture of different spices, you can use that here too. If you want something really with a kick, maybe some Cajun seasoning. I do want to point out some of those seasonings have salt. Okay. So if you're using those, just read the label of it. If it's a mixed seasoning that has salt, you probably don't need to add the salt and pepper. Okay. Just because of the small amount. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of garlic powder to it. Okay. I like garlic powder, so I put 2 little pinches in there. And then some salt and pepper. So here, I'm going to be dividing the salt and pepper. So it's a 1/4 teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon is 2/8 of a teaspoon, right? And 1/8 plus 1/8 equals a 1/4. We're going to do some math here, Tracie. So stay on top. And typically an 1/8 of a teaspoon can be like a generous pinch. So if you are not, you're thinking, if I'm cooking, I'm not bringing out my measuring spoons, that's okay. Just take a nice pinch because you're going to use the other pinch later. And then I'm going to add some pepper as well. Okay. And then we're just using a little bit of oil. So in the recipe, it's 2 tablespoons, but it's divided because when I was testing this recipe, I found that I needed a little bit more oil for one thing as opposed to the other. If you don't want to use a neutral oil, you could use olive oil, you could use avocado oil, whatever oil you have at home, you can use. And that will be okay too. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil here. And the dinging, if you heard it, is my oven at temperature. So we're using high heat for this recipe because we want things to look beautiful and we want to have that lovely texture. So I'm just kind of tossing this. I already have my baking sheet with parchment paper on here. My oven is at 450 degrees. And I'm going to put my potato, my fries, right on the baking sheet into the oven. Okay. So that's step one. And I'm going to put the timer on because I don't want to leave things too long. Okay. And then I'm going to give my hands a wash and come right back. So any questions or concerns about the roasted potato or the fries that we're making?
I don't see anyone with a question yet on that. I
Okay,
think I think we're all liking the potato. Emily, I think we're all good. So
good.
that's good. I mean, if you like rice, you could make rice.
You
Obviously not in a
definitely
sheet
could. So
pan.
potatoes are vegetables, right? We all
Yes.
know that. A lot of people know that it's a starchier vegetable as well. So this is really about what you love to eat with your fish. I happen to love fries with my fish, and oven fries to me are, a classic combination with fish in general. Um, but this could be frozen vegetables that you have in the refrigerator. And by the
Yep.
way, you can cook them the same way. Just take them out of the freezer, toss them with the same ingredients, and roast them. You're going to get that beautiful flavor and texture. They won't be kind of too soft, and they're going to be delicious with your fish as well. I'm just going to grab the fish. It's in the fridge.
Okay, you
Okay,
grab that and just like kind of think of it this way, especially if you've for many years cooked for other people, now it's time to cook for yourself. So you can make whatever it is that you enjoy and think about
that's
what
right.
you want for dinner or lunch or for whatever. So, all right, Emily, let's look at that fish.
This is the fish. We're using haddock today, and this is what I recommend if you are cooking for one or two and you're looking for a bargain. So typically you can buy larger bags of frozen fish. This was frozen. And then there's multiple pieces in that bag at a lower cost. What I always look for is this type, okay, where it's individually wrapped within the freezer bag. It's kind of like a double protection. And it's great if you're cooking for one or two because you can just pull out one fillet or two fillets or however many you need and keep the rest in the freezer. When you take them out of the freezer, it's cost effective, which is great. Just put it into the refrigerator and let it thaw in the refrigerator overnight, if you can, if you remember. If not, you need kind of a quicker thaw. What you can do is run this in the package under cold water and it will kind of thaw enough that you can use it. So this one I had in the fridge thawing. I'm just going to open the package here and I'm going to pull the fillet out and I just have some paper towel here that I'm going to pat my fillet dry. Now, oftentimes when we're cooking protein, we talk about the weight of protein. So if you're thinking of serving sizes, right? So 4 ounces, 3 ounces, 2 ounces, or in grams. And typically, when you buy portioned fish, so this is haddock. This could be, if you were using salmon, salmon would be lovely with this, by the way. Pick your favorite fish. And when they're pre-portioned, they're anywhere from 125 to 150 grams. Okay. Which, when you're looking at a lean protein, it's great. Okay. If you want something a little bit smaller, if you're going to a seafood counter, you can ask for them to cut you a smaller portion. But typically, when you're buying them already in portions, that's the size you're looking at, between 125 and 150 grams. So that's what this portion is. This one is 150 grams, right? And every time I see this, I'm thinking, I could probably eat two of these, but this is a good portion. All right, so I just patted it dry, absorbed some of that water, and then I'm going to bring in these kind of steps that we're going to do here a little bit. And the first plate I have here is some all-purpose flour. Okay. So I'm just going to put it on the side here because I want to actually sprinkle the rest of my salt and pepper onto my fish before I start seasoning it. You can put it in the flour if you want to. You may not need all the flour, so it tends to miss some of that seasoning. So that's why I like to season the fish a little bit here. Okay, and a little bit of pepper. And then I'm actually going to just flip it into the flour here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay. So the first step is coating our fish fillet with a little bit of flour. And I'm using a plate here just because it's easier. It's flat. It kind of accommodates the fish fillet really nicely. And the reason why I'm putting this flour on here is because I need something to stick our breadcrumb coating onto. Okay, so this is what I'm using for my breadcrumb coating. These are panko breadcrumbs. If you have regular breadcrumbs, that will work. Sometimes you can find panko breadcrumbs that are seasoned, and by that, that means it has typically a little bit, sometimes some cheese, some herbs in it. I'm adding seasoning by adding a little bit of Parmesan cheese in here. Okay. But you could also add some herbs to this. So if you wanted to, some of the Italian seasoning you could mix in here, or even just some, if you had dried parsley, for example, or fresh parsley minced up, you could add that here too. So I'm just going to mix that up. And because the heat is nice and high, I can already smell the potatoes. That's the great part about kind of, cooking the things that you like or what you want to cook, because you can do things fast. When I worked in restaurants, it was fabulous because during the dinner rush, you had everything, all the ovens were on 500 degrees, so you could put things in really quickly, so things would happen quickly. You can do that at home too. So if you're really hungry, the meal happens fairly quickly. All right, so we have two of our steps here. The third kind of middle step that is typically here is an egg. Now, when you're cooking for one, you are going to crack that egg, dip it, and then what are you going to do with the rest of the egg? Right? That was my dilemma. What am I going to do with the rest of the egg? I'm going to tell you all to crack this egg. You really only need about a tablespoon or two of that egg. So I found a solution because I love yogurt. I use a lot of Greek yogurt. I went and got some plain Greek yogurt. So this is just a couple tablespoons, and that's going to be my glue for the breadcrumbs. Okay. You could use, if you wanted something, a little mustard in here would work. When I was doing taste tests, the mustard was just a little too strong. So I just went with plain Greek yogurt. Guess what else that does? We're adding a little bit of calcium here. Isn't that fabulous? And a little bit of protein because we're using that Greek yogurt. So all I'm doing is taking my Greek yogurt and spreading it on top. So I don't have to crack an egg. I can save that egg for breakfast and just use the yogurt as my crust. And flip this over, and I'm going to do the other side. What do you think, Tracie? Is this wowing you right now? I know you saw the recipe, so you kind of know that this was coming, but
It is. It's wow, wow, wow. This is so great. Because, and you know what I want to just also share? It's really great to incorporate fish into your diet, but a lot of people either don't like fish or they feel like they're not confident in cooking fish. A breaded fillet is probably the most easy or delicious way to kind of start incorporating more fish. And also, like, I love fish and chips. That's exactly what I'm seeing in this whole recipe. And we just got, oh, we've got a couple of comments here. So Claire said, I would love to add dill to my yogurt. That's great. I love that. Um, and then it is also great. Yes, Patricia said it's a great tip to use the yogurt because we want to get ingredients that you can use in more than one way. So if you're already eating, yogurt on its own, or perhaps you're putting it in a smoothie or with fruit, easy peasy, just like kind of spread it on and you've just, no waste. Um, okay, so somebody actually said, Emily, let us know that their mom used mayonnaise.
oh, yep. Yep, that's something that you can use too.
Yeah.
And that has been done. I know sometimes when I make chicken drumsticks. So if you think back to the days, and I know maybe there's some people joining us that haven't used shake and bake in their lifetime. But
The
shake and bake,
generational thing.
it's a generational, it's still available for those of
Yes.
you that are wondering. So shake and bake was basically just a flavored dried breadcrumb mix. And so you would buy it, it came with a bag, you shook your chicken or whatever you'd put in it, and then in oven roast it. So I remember when I started cooking and finding out about all these fun things in the grocery store, and all my friends were talking about shake and bake. I needed to know what it was. And I started experimenting, and I started putting mayonnaise on the chicken before I put it in the shake and bake, and it was delicious. So that's the same premise. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the glue for the coating. You see that often in salmon crusts. There might be a little bit of mayonnaise.
Yes.
And guess what's in mayonnaise? Eggs. So that's why it
Eggs.
works. But mayonnaise and Greek yogurt have that same texture. The only bonus here is that we're getting that bit of calcium and protein from the Greek yogurt that we're using. And I can't remember who said to add dill, but guess what? I have dill weed in the dry pantry here. So guess what? We'll just sprinkle a little bit
Great
on the
idea.
on the
Now,
on the
I'm
crust
gonna
there.
add really quickly because then I'm gonna get off and let you keep going. Let's say you're very much, I do not want to eat fish, but you love the recipe. Use chicken, use pork, use beef, use
Yep.
whatever it is that you would like, and you literally just follow the same method that you would use for the fish cutlet, and you're still getting that protein.
So make sure it is a cutlet that you're using.
Yes.
I'm dinging over here. I'm going to grab my pan out because it's about the thinness. You see how this is not a very thick fish cooks in about 10 minutes per inch of thickness. So this is we're looking at just under an inch. So anything that you substitute with it, make sure it's about the same thickness. And then depending on what it is, you're looking for degrees of doneness, right? So in our white proteins, it would be no longer pink inside. For beef, it could be with a hint of pink. Same with veal, with pork. So you could really kind of change things up a little bit. If it's a really, really thin cutlet, it might even cook in less than 10 minutes. So you might have to leave your potatoes in just a smidge longer because I'm trying to balance cooking the potatoes and the fish so that they're both done at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to grab the potatoes. They smell great already, by the way. And if you want, I'm just going to bring them out here. You can flip these over if you want. Okay, and I will because then I can show you that they're already getting brown at 450 degrees. Okay, you can use a flipper. You don't have to use your hands, by the way. My hands are a very important tool that I use quite often. So if you want, you can flip them. It's not necessary. I often don't flip my roasted potatoes. I just kind of leave them in. And then on this half, you'll notice I'm only using half at a time. I'm putting my fish. So this is hot. This is very important. Remember that this is going back in the oven. So you have to pick this up. So have oven mitts or a tea towel or something handy. I always like to remind myself, leave the tea towel here so you know it's hot. Working in a commercial kitchen, we would throw flour on things so that people knew that it was hot. Now, here's where the rest of that oil is coming into play. We need to just drizzle. You can use a cooking spray, by the way, if you didn't want to add the oil here, but this just kind of helps give us a little bit of color and crispness to our fish. Okay, so this is going to go back into the oven for about 10 minutes. There we go. I'm going to put the timer on again for 10 minutes. And we have another job to do. We have to make a slaw. Okay. And here's where you might be thinking, Emily, I don't like kale. I don't like coleslaw. I just don't. You don't have to have the coleslaw if you don't want to. Overall, in our nutrients, this is included in that nutrients because this is a whole plate that we're making, right? So remember, if you remove this, some of that's going to be a little bit different. But kale is something normally I would say, oh, you could use frozen versus fresh. In this case, you can use a coleslaw mix. And for those of you that have joined me before on Cook with OC, you know how much I love my coleslaw mix. So you could very easily use that in place of the kale. You could make a romaine slaw if you wanted to, right? You could use any type of green that you like that you would eat typically raw, because that's what's going to give you a little bit of crunch and texture. And for us, we want this to be colorful too. So if you think about our fish is going to be kind of golden brown, our potatoes are going to be kind of golden brown. So the kale slaw really is going to add a little bit of color and a slightly different flavor and texture, which coleslaw would do as well. We're not doing a creamy version. You can if you want to, but this is a vinegar style slaw, which I think is delicious with fish, especially if you're a malt vinegar fan on your fish and chips. Having the vinegar slaw is delicious. All right, so I'm just making sure that I'm doing this right. So with kale, we're using rice vinegar. So here's the thing. I did this with the spices. Typically, when I'm cooking for a small amount or a small group of people, like me and you right now, or just me in this case, I just pull everything out and start measuring from it. So often during Cook with OC, you'll see I have everything out kind of measured, ready to go. But I really want to showcase the simplicity of these things. And so I'm using rice vinegar. This could be apple cider vinegar, white wine vinegar, red wine vinegar. It could be what you have, provided you enjoy vinegar. I love vinegar. So there's a tablespoon, which may seem like a lot for a small amount, but it really, really adds a ton of flavor. So I'm going to add my vinegar, and this is something that you may or may not do, is massage your kale. This just, I find it helps kind of break down a little bit of the fibrousness of kale. I feel that it adds a more appealing flavor and texture to the kale. Do you have to do it? Not at all. Okay. You can just add everything, toss it, let the salad sit, the slaw sit for a little bit, and it's fine. Okay. So I'm just doing that. And then I'm going to add half a cup of carrot. Do you want to know what half a cup did I call for half a cup? Half a cup of carrot is like a small carrot. And if you don't have a small carrot and you only have a big carrot, grate the whole carrot. And then tomorrow, add that half cup of carrot with that half a sweet potato you have in the fridge. You can make a little soup for yourself. You can saute it up and have that as a vegetable for something else. Okay. You could roast the rest of that sweet potato and then stir in the carrots and make a nice warm roasted sweet potato salad. So there's ways to kind of not worry too much about taking the time to cook for yourself. The thing that we're doing here is we're adding some color and some more nutrients to our full plate, and we want it to taste good. So that's why we're kind of mixing things here. So in goes my carrot. Then I'm going to add a little bit of canola oil. Now, I am measuring stuff here, but if you're at home by yourself, you can just do this. I promise I won't say anything to anybody. But you don't need too much oil here because it is not very much. And again, whatever oil you happen to have on hand. This is something that I love in my coleslaw. Not everybody does. Celery seed. Okay. So I'm just going to add about a quarter teaspoon. This is what gives that kind of, I think, traditional slaw flavor, is that little bit of celery seed. If you don't use celery salt. That's for your Caesar. Celery seed just has that nice little bit of flavor to it, but you could use dill. You added the dill to the fish, add a little bit of dill to the slaw. That's okay. You can leave it out entirely if you wanted to as well. And then just to balance out the flavor, I'm just going to add a little pinch of sugar and a little pinch of salt. And do you need it? How about this? You taste it and then see if you need it. Okay, because that's what's great about working with these small amounts, is that if you don't need it, you don't have to add it, right? If it's not something that you traditionally use, then you don't have to worry about it. And then all you have to do is mix this up. So what's great about this is that while you're mixing this up, the fish is finishing, right? Your potatoes are finishing. And if you're thinking, well, I really like my fish with lemon, well, this is the time, cut yourself a wedge of lemon. Or, hands down, I love fish with tartar sauce. Well, what am I going to do? I don't have any tartar sauce. But you have the Greek yogurt that you used for the fish. So you can use some Greek yogurt. If you use some of the dill, you can add dill into that Greek yogurt. If you have some lemon, you can add a little lemon juice or lemon rind. And you have a very simplified version of a somewhat tartar sauce. If you have relish, you can add a spoonful of that to your Greek yogurt, and that will really kind of bring out the flavor of a tartar sauce that, you know, people kind of love. Oftentimes when we think of these types of meals, we're thinking about the condiments to have with it. So I right away think of malt vinegar with fish and chips. Tartar sauce would be another one. Lemon for sure. And then maybe ketchup. Ketchup would kind of come in near the end there. And that's our slaw. Are you guys hungry yet? I wish I could pass along the aroma of the roasting that's happening, because it's absolutely fabulous. What do we think, Tracie?
I think we're hungry. That's what I think. That's what I think. I'm looking at this, and like you know, we always say the recipe won't take as long. It's just because Emily and I are talking. That's why this is taking longer. And we love hearing from all of you. We did get a couple of, so somebody actually said, did you turn the fish over? No, right? You're just cooking it, no flipping. Sometimes we
No,
mess with our food too much, I think, when we're I'm just saying, like sometimes like I like to stand and some people will say, please walk away from the stove. And I'm like, you know, mixing, I feel like I need to flip things over. Sometimes we just need to not touch and
you know
just let
what?
it cook.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. However, if
Yeah.
you want to flip, excuse me, like I said, the potatoes, you can flip that's totally up to you.
Yeah.
For me, it's sometimes just about hands off because then I can do something else, right? So while the potatoes were cooking, I got the fish ready. While the fish is cooking, I got the slaw ready. So I like to use that time to stay busy. And then at the end, everything's ready. And now I can be happy that I've done this for myself to have a delicious meal and enjoy it. I did set aside some tartar sauce, by the way,
Did you? I
because
do like, yes, I do like condiments and
I
whatnot.
do like a little bit of tartar sauce.
Somebody just
Um,
actually asked, so you just roughly chop the kale first, but
yes.
what do you mean if you could just explain what seasoned rice vinegar is?
Oh, for sure. So there's when you go to look for rice vinegar, there's two kinds, and one will say seasoned and one will just say rice vinegar. And when you go to the grocery store, it's kind of right on the label. So this one says seasoned rice vinegar. What that means is that it has a little bit of sugar and salt in it. Okay. So this is typically if you make sushi at home with sushi rice. So I'll just hold this up so you can see it a little bit better there. Okay. So here it says seasoned rice vinegar. Right. And it's not necessary for the recipe. It just adds a nice little balance of flavor to the slaw itself. If all you can find is rice vinegar, that will work beautifully. Rice vinegar overall it's slightly less acidic, so a lot of people enjoy it as a vinegar for salads because it doesn't bother them quite as much. One of my favorite is just freshly sliced cucumber with a sprinkle of rice vinegar on it, a little bit of sesame seeds, absolutely fabulous little salad. And that rice vinegar is just delicate enough to add a little bit of bite to the cucumbers, but a little bit of flavor too. That vinegar is that is wonderful. So if you don't have rice vinegar, you can use any vinegar. You may just need to add a little bit more salt and sugar to it just to balance out the flavors. That's all. Any other questions, Tracie?
We did have one question. So we're all about cooking for one, and normally we're telling you how to scale down. And somebody is asking, you are very welcome, Patricia. She just said thank you. Somebody said, well, now how do I double this? Is it literally just double everything in the recipe?
So typically when you want to double something, I'm just going to check the fish. Give me a
Okay, you
second.
check the fish.
So this is where I say 10 minutes, but depending on your oven, it might take a little bit longer. So I'm going to bring this over and show you something because this is where you will determine whether or not you want to put it back in. Okay, so here's the fish and chips. Okay, you can see how really golden those are now. This has got a nice bit of golden color on it, which is what I'm looking for. And believe it or not, the fish kind of plumps up a little bit with that heat. It's just kind of, you can't really tell from the overhead, but it has kind of thickened in size. So all you want to do is take your fork and just give this a little twist. Okay, and if it's giving you some resistance, like it's not flaking, and separating, pop it back in the oven for a couple minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to put this back in for 2 minutes because I don't think it needs that much longer. And then we'll have a wonderful fish and chips. Okay, so we were talking about doubling. So doubling in this type of recipe, because it's cooking, you can kind of just double all the ingredients. If there was something like chili flakes, cayenne pepper, or if you want to use any kind of spicy things or hot things, that's where doubling doesn't always benefit you because it could be too hot. So some things when they multiply, I'll use hot chili peppers or chili flakes as an example. Quarter teaspoon doubled is half a teaspoon. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you are not accustomed to having a big heat in whatever you're eating, it could be really spicy. So sometimes holding back a little bit on hot ingredients or spicy ingredients is the way to go. But here, pretty much doubling everything will give you enough for 2 portions, as would quadrupling it and cooking for 4, for example. So, a potato each, that'd be fabulous. And then having a larger version of the salad, the slaw, for everybody to have, and then a portion of fish. The one thing that you would have to do is then move to probably 2 baking sheets as opposed to 1, because fitting 4 potatoes cut into fries plus 4 fish fillets, you probably got to push that to 2 baking sheets. But for 2 portions, you can see I still had space on there. So you could put 2 fish fillets with 2 potatoes and you'd have no problem with that too, which would be really nice. If you love your air fryer, this is a great recipe to do in the air fryer as well because it's a small amount. So if you're cooking for yourself, air fryers are fabulous for that, for kind of small. You don't have to heat up the oven. They're great with high heat cooking, and they usually take a little bit less time. So you can use that or a toaster oven. This is fabulous in the toaster oven as well. I would use the same kind of heat because in that smaller size, it just, excuse me, it just cooks faster. And who doesn't want to eat faster, right? Okay, so now I'm going to take this out because this is done. Turn that off. And we're going to plate this. Any other questions, Tracie? I'm going to get the flipper here.
No, I think you pretty much answered all of them, unless somebody pops them in now. But I mean, normally we talk so much about we love freezing food and making extra portions. And again, the feedback we get is people go, I don't have that big of a freezer. I don't like leftovers. This is a completely freshly prepared meal. And it looks delicious as that. Look at that portion of fish that you've got.
Like, I think this is a fabulous meal. Like, I have eaten it many times as I was kind of testing it, and I really enjoyed it. And I have doubled it. I made it for my
Yeah.
husband and I, and he enjoyed it as well. And I think that that's always a good sign when you can, share meals with people and they like it too. That's kind of a key. So I'm going to put that little bit of tartar sauce here. And you can do one of 2 things. You can put your slaw right on the plate. This tends to look like a ton of food when everything's on here. So if this, intimidates you and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to eat all this? Put either the fries or the slaw on a separate plate. Okay, so that it's not overwhelming and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I eat all of this? And oh, there's a little lemon wedge for us. And you know what I really love? I don't know if I've ever told you this before, Tracie, but this is a little kind of secret in my family. I don't know who else does this, but I take a little bit of Parmesan cheese and I put it on my oven fries. And if you have not had this before, you're gonna love it. You have to use the Parmesan for the fish, so why not put a little bit on my aunt used to do this all the time with her roasted potatoes, and we were like, what are you doing, Zia? And we just started doing it too. It's absolutely delicious. So another little hit of calcium. Very, very minor, but still delicious,
It's
more
all
importantly.
together. It's all
It's
how
all
you package
together.
it together. Well, I know I've done it with a bit of feta. I've put
Oh,
feta on fries. So here we go, everyone. We're all sharing what we like to eat with that looks delicious. Roy,
whoops. Ah,
let's get a close up.
that's the overhead shot
That's a
there.
beautiful dish and a very satisfying one. And you're getting like everything. It's a full meal. So we hope
Definitely.
you will try this. Well, actually, Emily has to try it first because we need her
I
to have
will. I really want the
that.
potatoes first because I
I
love
know.
fries.
So please tell us if you make this. We love it when people message us or share on social that they've tried one of our recipes. And we have some new recipes too. How is that, Emily?
Well,
I will do it
I should have
tomorrow.
showed I
Okay, Claire. That's awesome.
I
Claire's like, I'm committed. I'm making it tomorrow.
I should have showed everybody the flaky fish, but basically you could tell as soon as I break it apart that it
Yes,
just kind of it falls apart, which is really nice. You can do a little squeeze of this first before you
I'm
eat
a
it if you
lemon with
want.
fish person. I
Yeah,
agree.
I love it.
I enjoy lemon with my fish. And
I do like
yes,
it with the dill. So thank you, whoever suggested the dill. That
yes.
nice little light touch. And it wasn't fresh. It was just I had, dried dill weed in the spice drawer. So
Well, that is
I'm just gonna eat this
you
now.
keep you. Oh, Claire said you're well. It is Claire. Claire's very active on the webinar today. That's wonderful. We've got some other people too. That's wonderful. So, well, you know what? Before we get going, let's share. I've got some information to share. So, first off, the person who's winning the apron is Robina DeCoste from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And I know I butchered that. So I am so sorry. Apologies. Brenda said, looks yummy. That's great. So I'll email you and we'll get you that apron, Robina. Thank you so much for being on the webinar today. I am going to just share my screen here. And so we have some new recipes on the website. I mean, we have all the other ones. I encourage people. We've been doing this for now quite a while. There are a lot of recipes. Go past like the first or the second page. There's so many different things available depending on what kind of foods that you like and how you like to prepare things. So please check it out. We are going to be scheduling some more cooking demos coming up. Um, Now about Sudbury, because I was so excited when I saw people from Sudbury on. We are going to be doing some education events in the greater Sudbury area, but we need help. We are looking for people who live in and around Sudbury to join our little volunteer committee to help us plan the events. And, if you are interested, you can email volunteer@osteoporosis.ca. You can also get on the volunteer webpage on the website, osteoporosis.ca/volunteer, and just say you'd like to be involved in the Sudbury event. We're working to bring more programs. We did a great one in New Brunswick, in just outside of Moncton, in the fall. And so where we have opportunities, we are doing that. So hopefully if you are in that area, or if you know of anyone in that area that would be interested, please share. And we have a webinar coming up. So if you don't know, Osteoporosis Canada we've expanded our mandate to include rare bone diseases. And there are three, the short forms for them are HPP, XLH, and FOP. You can learn more about them and who they affect with Dr. Angela Chung on Wednesday, April 30th. So that is also coming up. And we have new podcasts. These will be released within the next few days. So we have a podcast on osteoclasts and osteoblasts, what they are and what they do. And another podcast coming up, oxalates, phytates, and calcium absorption. So check your email for the launch of these two new podcasts. Our podcast, it's called Unbreakable, the OC podcast. You can listen to it on the website or on your favorite podcast provider like YouTube Music, iTunes, and Spotify. Lastly, again, please, visit the website, use a nutrient calculator to help track the amount of nutrients you're getting every day. You can also visit the replay webpage where we are recording this cooking demo, but also other webinars, which were very popular and people wanted to rewatch them, or if they missed them, to catch up. So you can watch that. And the newest podcast that just got released, so it's already online, What is a Bone Mineral Density Test? With Dr. Julie Gilmore. What's a BMD? Check it out. So thank you, Emily. Thank you to all
Thank
of
you.
you. We're online on social, on Instagram and Facebook. Let people know where we are. We love meeting new people and have new people part of our community. Be well, stay well, eat well. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful long weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Emily. Bye, Roy. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks so much.